Welcome everybody, this is Brothermutant here. Today we are showing a new game that I've recently purchased, Solasta, Crown of the Magister. This is an early access game, but not by much. This one's actually going to be released here, I'm going to say this week or next week, I'm going to say the 20th, whatever day that is. This is actually something that's another D&D-esque type game, simply because this one's actually based on D&D 5.1 edition. And again, they actually have permission to do that. The downside of that, that's as far as they got, which means that the devs for this game can't bring material from D&D that exceeded that. Stuff that, again, was a higher part of that edition. So that means we're actually going to be a little bit limited. I've already been playing for a little bit. I'm not going to go into the continuum. I'm actually going to show you character creation. So I actually get a character. Notice that it saves your character, so the ones that I have my current playthrough, they have some built ones for you. But I have Brothermutant, Devotee, I have Shadowcaster here, and Spellsword, and that's what I've named them for various reasons. For example, Brothermutant, obviously my character is Wizard. Devotee is to remind me that because she's a Paladin, there is a specific type of Paladin you can play. The Devotion Paladin is the one that I'm looking at, so hence Devotee. Same with Shadowcaster and Spellsword. There's a Shadowcaster, or whatever the hell it's called, subcategory of rogue that shows up at level 3. Same with the half-elf here that's playing a fighter. There's a spell sword variant at level 3 you can unlock, and you get access to wizard spells. Same with the Shadowcaster, they get access to wizard spells and cantrips. There's a different set of spells though, so again, the Shadowcaster, like it sounds, is going to be Legion spells and a variety of other buffs and debuffs, whereas the spell sword is going to be more about firepower, so evocation type spells. Not the only thing they have access to. I'm going to show you that as an example right now. So let's get into a new character. Show you that they have various races. Notice that the ones that have the sliders here have two different classes, two different sets of races. So Hill Dwarf is one. Notice if you click here, you see the Snow Dwarf is the other. They have core dwarf abilities here that they both share. The differences are listed down below, of course, male versus female. That doesn't change anything other than your appearance, obviously. But Hill Dwarf, again, is a bonus to Wisdom and a little bit of HP besides. If you play the other type of Dwarf, that's Snow Dwarf, you get a bonus to Dexterity, oddly, and get some proficiency with Heavy Crossbow, which would actually make a pretty good Ranger, in my opinion, if it weren't for the fact that their Wisdom is straight up generically normal. But again, a nice bonus to Con saves as well, so again, a pretty tough little cookie here. There's, of course, just generic half-elves, which are pretty badass. A little bonus to Charisma. Increase 2 other scores. Anything else besides Charisma, another point. So you could be, say, an Intelligence Dex character. You could be a Strength Con character. Again, on you to decide how to make a half-elf to the best of your ability. Humans, on the other hand, have just generic +1 to every ability, which again is pretty cool. It's one of the reasons I like playing humans. And again, there's a couple other things going for them, like an extra language choice. Notice also that the dwarves as well as the halflings will have less of a movement. I want to say the high elves are actually the only ones that get a movement of 7. That's what this is referring to, how many tiles, if you will, that they can move. But humans, again, pretty cool, pretty versatile. High elves versus Sylvan elves, again, they share elven traits between them, where the bonus to dexterity is always there. High elves get a bonus to intelligence, obviously made to be a really good caster, in my opinion. Could be a dex-based spell sword, though, a fighter that literally has access to wizard spells at a certain point. It's pretty badass. Notice how the high elves also get a cantrip. Choose one wizard cantrip using intelligence as the spellcasting ability for free. So again, even if you played a character that doesn't cast spells, you get an infinite use cantrip, and that can be some serious power besides those things. So again, whether you're talking light spell, firebolt, radiant frost, again, variety of choices as you'll see. It's pretty badass. That's an option for you. Notice that the Sylvan elves don't get that option, or they get a bonus to wisdom instead of intelligence. Still pretty zippy. You gotta love that. Get some proficiencies and stuff that you'd expect. A wood elf is what you basically call these. Because that's basically what they are. Notice that these guys are going to be with a bonus to dexterity and wisdom. These make really good rangers, not surprisingly. It's not the only choice for ranger. I'm just saying that this is the first suggestion that I have, or thought that I have when I look at these type of characters. Notice that the Marsh halfling versus the island halfling again differs. The typical halfling traits, the lucky, the nimbleness, the dexterity bonus, and being brave, so basically advantage against being frightened, which is extremely powerful. They all move terribly, so again, 5 movement versus the 6 versus the 7. So again, just like dwarves, these are pretty slow, Having said that, these are typical rogues for me. Doesn't have to be this type of halfling. Matter of fact, I usually go with the other kind. Notice that these one here get a variety of things for being the marsh halfling. That con bonus and the ability to move through swampy areas without being hindered, which is pretty nice. Notice that the island halfling, on the other hand, while still getting all the same stuff that you see up here, they get a bonus to charisma. Now, that's not something that's actually particularly important in this type of game. Simply, well, not, I shouldn't say it that way, for specific classes, because there's very few classes that charisma matters. We don't have sorcerers yet. We don't have access to anything that's like bard or anything like that, where charisma would be an important stat. Obviously useful for other things, but is not the make or break your build by having a +1 in charisma, for example. Notice how these guys have advantage on dexterity checks for acrobatics, which is extremely valuable. Again, language proficiencies and such, particularly nice. And again, these are the ones that I usually pick when I want to play a rogue character. Just, off the top of my head, that's the go-to I have. Again, it's certainly that you could have fun with Marsh doing the same thing, because again, a bonus to con, still getting your dexterity bonus. These guys are particularly tough. Notice how this one here gets dark vision, which is particularly nice. I don't think the other guys do. They don't get dark vision at all. So again, something of difference here. And while you may say, well, who really cares about that? You actually do. In this particular game, light sources matter. This is the thing that, for those of you who watched any of my Pathfinder Kingmaker playthroughs, you probably heard me multiple times, I'm sure, bitch about how it seems weird in this day and age, developer team that sees spells like light, or see spells or abilities like, have heightened senses of some kind, where it's obvious that their senses give a higher perception, that isn't somehow added into the game in a better way, where people actually need to see their target are at disadvantage or have a penalty to their swing because they're in the dark or in the bright light. Again, modders for Pathfinder Kingmaker has added a wonderful penalty, in my opinion, to half-orcs, because there's prefer the darkness, where they're literally at a penalty until a certain character level. By that point, the argument being that they've exposed themselves personally enough to light sources over the years of training and whatnot, that their penalty is lessened or gone, I think, by the end of it, which is pretty nice. And again, a nice way of dealing with the problem. Again, it's a very simple mechanic, something that's easy, you would think, for a developer team that knows what they're doing to do. So it's weird that Pathfinder Kingmaker, as good as it is, never had that mechanic. This game has that faction. This game also has things like half coverage, partial coverage, 75% full coverage. As you'll see, it has elevation. Again, this is going to feel extremely similar, in my opinion, to Baldur's Gate 3. Having said that, Baldur's Gate 3 has more polish, being not done. It's a little weird, whereas this one's about ready to be released. But try to remember something else. One of the other reasons I like this game is several, for various reasons. One being that the developer team for this game, from what I understand, is a team of less than 20 people. I want to say the number was 17. So the fact that they've made a finished product may not be amazing, but a finished product with 17 people, that's a triumphant effort. Let's just say that. And again, it may not be polished, there may be bugs. They're trying their best, and they're doing a good job. Having said that, also, this game is short. From what I understand, again, DLCs are coming probably, if not one, maybe more. But that's not guaranteed. That may be something that costs extra. This game cost me just over $45. I want to say, because I got the DLCs, or future purchase of the DLCs, I should say. But my point is, the game being short being arbitrary term, playing it through once with effort, where you try and hit as many bells and whistles as possible, side quests and whatnot. Here it's about 40 hours long. And you may say, well, that doesn't sound very good, especially when you compare it to something like Pathfinder Kingmaker, where I played it for literally hundreds of hours on the first playthrough, and have played through it multiple times, with just different feels to it. We're playing evil build, playing a different type of character, where melee versus range. All my theory crafting builds that I've done videos on, I'm sure you guys have seen those. I'll do the same for this game. But again, pretty damn cool. And again, you may say, well, that one's huge, and it's polished, and it wasn't when it was released. Let's be clear on that. I mean, I love Pathfinder Kingmaker, but it was a donkey's dick, quite frankly, when it was released. It wasn't finished in any stretch of the imagination, but they did us good. They did a solid. They really went out of their way to make sure that they fixed everything in a timely fashion, and they're learning from that mistake, I believe, so that Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous is being released without as many bugs, without as many penalties, which is why it's taking a little longer. Having said that, this game, again, same deal, and you may say 40 hours, that's nowhere near the same. But my argument's always been the same. A, replayability is always a big factor, but B, if I pay 40 bucks, let's just say, for a game, and I get 40 hours of enjoyment out of that game, I consider that money well spent. That's $1 an hour. You can't freaking find something these day and age that'll entertain you for 40 hours for 40 bucks. So the fact that I'm going to play this at least once in its entirety, and probably, let's be honest, 2 or 3 times, as well as various build videos and what have you, I'm going to get my money's worth out of it. I'm not worried about that. But there's another very cool feature to this game that we haven't talked about yet. The modding community is huge in this game. I'm sure Pathfinder Kingmaker had a modding community, still does. Same with Wrath of the Righteous. It's going to be there, I have no doubt. This modding community was given access to the game in a way that they didn't in Kingmaker. What do I mean? If you've ever played Neverwinter Nights or Neverwinter Nights 2, to be specific, one of my favorites, the modding community there is, again, astounding. The reason it's astounding is the developers for those games, I forget, the Wizards of the Coast, I think is what it was, gave access to like maps and builds and things that you would need to make your own module, not mod, module. By module, what we mean is a story, whether it's a short one, a big one, a quest, multiple quests, up to you to decide. And people have already started making those modules for this game, which is pretty badass. And it's incorporated into this game in a way where literally once you download them, you can say, oh, I want to do that module. Just like we did in Neverwinter Nights 2, where when you go to your, which quest or story arc am I going to do, the vanilla version of the game, quest 1, 2, or 3, or, oh, look at all these modules that have popped up that I've downloaded and saved in the appropriate folders. And now I have access to them and can do those, which is how I did Neverwinter Nights 2 content way back when. So this is available for this game too, which is pretty cool to me. They've already added, for example, and when we talk about the different classes, which we're going to see next, in fact, let's just pick human and just run with it. They've already added more than what the vanilla version of the game is already offering. So for instance, clerics, if you click on clerics, look at the divine domains. These are the different domains that allow you to diversify, if you will, your cleric in a variety of ways. Just pretty badass. Close that up. Look at the fighter. If you look at the martial archetypes at level 3, we can either be a champion, a mountaineer, again, the spellblade, the one that I like. The one that's level 3 can cast wizard spells and cantrips from the following schools: Conjuration, Evocation, Transmutation, and Enchantment. Now that's a laundry list of schools right there. That doesn't include everything. Obviously there's 4 there's missing: Divination, Necromancy, Illusion, and something else. What the hell am I forgetting? Let's see. Conjuration, Evocation, Transmutation, Enchantment. I'm missing Divination. Abjuration, there it is. Divination, Abjuration, Illusion, and the other one that I said, Necromancy. Again, that's fine. Well, guess what you're going to see when you get to the Rogue subclass, the one that has access to the other types of spells. Not all of them, but again, a lot of them. Notice we even get like Magic Weapon. And again, while I'm touting how cool this is for this vanilla version of the game, modders have added more already. That's how good the modding community is. They're just like, oh, you missed this. Well, they didn't have access to it. The modders, the developers, I should say, of this game, again, were restricted by 5.1 edition D&D. They couldn't go beyond. But by leaving it open to modders, gotta love this. By leaving it open to modders are allowed to modify it any way they fucking see fit. And we don't have to follow the rules of, well, D&D says we can't do that. Well, fuck you, D&D. You're not in my house, and you're not in my game, and you don't have to tell me what I can and can't fucking mod. Fuck you. And that's what modders are doing, which I love. Paladin, Sacred Oaths, this is where I get my devotee, Oath of Devotion. This will be the type of paladin that I pick. Because I'll get a variety of different spells and some other fiddly bits. Both of the Motherland, this is going to feel like a blaster, caster, paladin type, because you get things like Burning Hands, Branding Smite, Scorching Ray, Fireball, Timir. This one's going to feel very odd again as well. Sleep, Shield, Hold Person, Blindness, Daylight, and Slow. This is a variety of things that they have access to. Oath of Devotion, my personal choices because of things like shield protection versus evil and good, lesser restoration and aid for some healing and recovery type spells, dispel magic and revivify. Again, this feels like a paladin, the type of stuff a paladin would have. Again, their sacred weapon upgrade, their ability to turn unholy, so basically undead they can affect. Again, not surprising that this is the one that I think of when I think of paladin. And again, modders have added to that ranger archetypes. We're going to get things like hunter, marksman, shadow tamer, which again is interesting, just not enough to me to actually care. Rogues, this is where it gets to be fun for me, because we got thief, dark weaver, and shadow caster. Wizard spells and cantrips from the divination, illusion, necromancy, and abjuration schools. Again, that freaking covers the other. Between it and the other fighter, I have access to all wizard spells. If I'm 3 levels or higher a rogue, and then have on my team, because you have a teammate, a 4-team composition, and you have another teammate that's the fighter, that's the spell blade. At level 3 on up, they'll have access to the other 4 schools of wizard spells. That's all I need. Between the 2 of them, they cover all my bases of wizardliness. So you may say, well, do I really need a wizard? Fuck yeah, you need a wizard, because wizards are fucking tits, because they have arcane traditions that the other guys aren't getting, like Shock Arcanist, Green Mage, where they have access to a laundry list of spells that are clearly paladin-ish spells. Lord Masters just being really good at casting spells and crafting stuff. But the Shock Arcanist is pretty interesting, because they can upcast. For those of you who don't know what this means, and I'm just naming it this, that's not necessarily the appropriate term. Upcasting it, to me, is if it's a level 1 spell, but you have a level 2 spell slot, you can still cast it, and it's actually better. This is something that the 5th edition excelled at. I'm not saying it's the only edition that did it, but it's the one I can think of off the top of my head. And Pathfinder 2nd edition has taken several steps like that to get in line with what made sense for them. It makes perfect sense for them too. So what upcasting is, to me anyway, take something like Magic Missile, an obvious level 1 spell. It's awesome. It's steady damage, auto hit, multiple targets can be picked. Boom, 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 hit 4 targets at level 1. Easy peasy, pumpkin squeezy. If you upcast it, you get more arrows. So it's an easy way to keep track of, oh, this is more damage. Cool. And that's all you really want to think about it. That's all you have to really care about. Notice how they can upcast these for free. When casting spells from the war list, which are the spells we're about to list off here, they count as being cast as 1 slot level higher than the one you actually use. So if the level 1 slot that I'm using is still treated as if it was cast as level 2 upcasted, if you will. So again, my magic missiles are better, my burning hands do more damage, thunder wave, acid arrow, scorching ray, flaming spear, fireball, lightning bolt, ice storm, cold. A laundry list of shit. Pretty badass, right? Again, one of the reasons I kind of like the Shock Arcanist, which is why Brothermutant will be at level 2 a Shock Arcanist. Notice at level 6, Arcane Fury. Add your proficiency bonus and intelligence bonus to your evocation spell damage for 1 minute. Recharges after a long rest. Something else they've implemented in this game, which again is something that I've sorely missed in Pathfinder. Not that Pathfinder had this type of mechanic, but definitely D&D does, is long rest and short rest. So if you're familiar with long rest, literally the big, long, 8-hour plus nap, unless you're an elf where you can only meditate for 4 hours, and that's good, which again exists in this game. That's long rest. I get most, if not all, of my health back. I get most, if not all, of my spells back, and I get to repick my spells and blah 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 blah. All my rechargeable abilities, like even the fighters who can do things like heal themselves like once a day. They have a clickable abilities, not a power, but you can think of it in that way. That recharges on a long rest. Long rest usually recharges all those things. There is, however, a thing called short rest. Short rest is literally nothing more than an hour long, like repairing your gear, whistling a tune, snacking on some shit. You're not sleeping, but you're just getting a short rest. You're getting a breather, if you will. And that breather can recharge a variety of things as well. Again, in the tooltips, it should tell you. So they've done a good job of bringing that. So this will really feel like 5.1 edition D&D for those of you playing it. Unless, of course, you mod it out, which you definitely know that I'm going to do once it's released official. But this is some really cool shit that they've given us. Now let's actually just back out of here, because I don't need to show you this. Well, actually, let's just pretend we're going to play somebody. So I have a fighter, I have a rogue, I have a wizard, and I have a paladin. So the things I don't have for cleric and ranger, let's just make a cleric. I have to pick a deity, so I got Takri, goddess of law and knowledge, alignment, lawful neutral, divine domains. I got insight. Notice the list of spells. Something else I should point out as well, you may notice that the list of spells, level 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9, nothing beyond it. Why? Unless they changed something recently, which I don't think they have, this game caps out at level 10. Remember, 40-hour game. And you may say, well, that's crap. It's significant. Let's be clear. How often have you played a D&D pen and paper version of a game where you and your friends started at level 1 and finished at level 20? It's rare, and most people will not do it. So the fact that you have a party of 4 here, and again, you can choose the party however you fucking want, as you'll see in a moment, and literally get them to level 10, all of them, that's pretty significant. So it's pretty cool, and I kind of dig that. And there is going to be mods, of course, that will unlock the ability to go beyond it. Having said that, I wouldn't trust that that's going to work beautifully for this game. It'll work for probably the modules that are developed for modders, and that's where I would probably take higher level content. But I would probably keep the original vanilla version of this game to level 1 through 10, because that's the way it was intended, and I'm fine with that. For those that don't understand what that means, let's give you some frame of references here, okay? For a wizard that's level 10, you'll have access to level 5 spells. Not 6, not 7, 8, or 9, which is the highest that wizards should have access to. They're going to be stuck at level 5. But, again, frame of reference here. Fireball, the one of the penultimate abilities that people think of when they think of wizard casting, or in my opinion, that or lightning bolt, those are level 3. So we're talking you're getting 2 levels beyond that for spells, so you better believe there's some good shit up in there. So again, you're not going to feel subpar by the end of this, and again, it's going to be fucking cool. Take it another way. How about just for people that don't like casting? Let's talk about fighters. Okay, if you're just a generic fighter, you're a sword and board kind of guy. You don't even want the spell sword abilities where you got wizard spells on tap. Fine, I get it. You want to fucking swing and hit and shoot and all that fucking shit that fighters do. It's like what it says. What they do what's on the tin. They kill shit. And that's their job. Fighters are awesome. Okay, a level 10 fighter. What can you expect a level 10 fighter to be able to do? Well, a level 10 fighter is going to have a BAB, an attack bonus that's going to be infinitely better than just about everybody else. They're going to be proficient in all kinds of armor, shields, weapons, right from the get-go, and it's just going to get better from there. So you can pretty much trust that the fighters are going to wreak some unholy havoc. Same with paladins, speaking of unholy. So again, you can see the fun you're going to have with these various classes. And again, just like the wizard, the cleric, which is in this game, will have access to level 10. That's at level 5 spells. Again, there's some good level 4, 5, 3 spells that are out there. You'll have access, for example, to things like either resuscitation, revivify, or whatever the fuck they call it in D&D anymore, I can't remember. Basically, raise the dead-ish spells, which is pretty goddamn powerful. Let's just be real clear here. You'll have access to your cure spells, your cure light wounds, cure moderate, cure serious, cure critical. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4 right there covered. And then you're probably getting access to the level 5 spell would probably be the first of the mass cure spells. Mass cure light wounds is probably in that one. So again, pretty fucking cool. Of the deities, I can't say I didn't even bother to look at these guys because I don't usually play a cleric. It's not fun. I just don't usually give a shit. Let's get an elemental cleric of sun, because the sun ones really fuck up some undead. They're really, really good at damaging undead. Now notice that this is something else that they've added that I'm a big fan of. Again, another thing that came from D&D, the background. And this is going to be where a lot of the flavor of your character comes into play. So for those of you that thought Pathfinder was cool with their skills and their feats and their gear and their classes and subclasses and your dipping and your double dipping and everything else that you did to min-max, sure, that's fine. But when it came to the role play aspect of the game, this is where this game shines. Again, the graphics are not going to be stellar. Modders are hopefully going to fix a lot of that shit. But the face animation is going to look stupid. The faces are going to look like they're melted a little bit or like they're made of wax. Again, 17 developers made this finished game, guys. Let's be real clear here. We're not going to fucking do that kind of shit. So the fact that they even got it this far is a testament of their wanting to bring that old, not old, but that really nice D&D feel to a CRPG. This is one of the reasons that I love this game. Let's take our cleric. He'd probably either be lawkeeper, aristocrat, acolyte is a fine choice. Let's click acolyte, see what's available. Notice we have these personality flags. We get to choose 2 up here. Notice we get to choose down here as well. Notice this one, only allows us to pick 2 because we're neutral. If we're chaotic good, differences. Lawful neutral, differences. And again, notice you have personality already over here. This is the only ones that you pick. Let's we're lawful good, because fuck undead. Makes sense to us, right? Notice anything that matches up here with down here, for example, lawfulness, and I think that's it so far. For this alignment, I mean, let's say lawful neutral has to offer. Here's lawfulness here, caution and caution. Let's do lawfulness twice, caution twice. Notice they are double colored, which means this one's a normal blue, this is deeper blue. See that? And let me unclick it to show you. See how it went to being generic? I'm gonna click it again, boom, it's brighter, right? That is important. That means we really are cautious. We really are lawful. It's a dominant personality trait, if you will. And this is a way that you will change dialogue in this game. People will have either interactions because of your background, like maybe you're a spy, so you have a spy network. Depending on your personality flags, you may interact with the other 3 teammates that you generate and pick for this game, as well as the people in the game in a different way. If you're cautious, you may not offer free information. If you're lawful, you are going to stick to the letter of the law. So when people are like, oh, you can't fire me because I'm in charge. Well, the law says you are in charge, you are correct, and you will not push that as an objective. For instance, I'm theory crapping here, but I'm giving you a general gist of what this shit's going to actually do for you. Again, if you really want to be cautious or you're lawful or both, this is a good way to go. Let's go back to lawful good, though. Let's go with lawful. Make it a very important key trait as a cleric, kind of makes sense. And let's go with kind. You're not here to fucking hurt people. I mean, yes, you have weapons and all of those cool ass spells, but in the end, you're all about, hippie love and all that fucking cool shit. So that's important. Notice some other things that we get for being an acolyte. Right? Background feature, religious training, be proficient now in religion, nature, and insight for free. That came from being an acolyte. Potion making, proficient with the herbalism kit for free. If we didn't have that for being a cleric, which we may not have, we got it now. You're a potion maker. Fucking awesome. We get an additional language. We can choose one additional language. Background equipment. This is what we get for being an acolyte. We got a crafting starter pack, which is a backpack, acid times 2, magnesium times 2, refined oil times 2, and that literally is so that we can start making potions. 15 gold pieces, commoner's clothing, which is just a way for you to change out of your stupid ass fucking armor, and an herbalism kit. We'll get even more gear for being a cleric, like they'll give you armor and weapons and shit like that, but by and large this is going to be some of the generic stuff that they give you. And again, that would change if we were an academic versus a lawkeeper versus an aristocrat. And again, a variety of ways to make your character. The replayability you can see already is getting to be important. Sure, you can make an entire party of lowlifes, for example, like all 4 of them. Doesn't matter if you're a wizard, cleric, rogue, whatever your fucking 4 teammates are, you and your 3 teammates, I should say, are. They could all be lowlifes and have a commonality in that. They could all be spies. Maybe they all work in the same spy network. Then that's on you. Me, I know me. I'd diversify. I'd spread things around. And again, I'm not min-maxing by any stretch of the imagination yet. I'm just going with stuff that sounds like a cleric would have an acolyte background. Or a wizard sounds like someone who would be an academic. Or a rogue would be probably a spy. My fighter could be a sellsword or a lowlife. Again, a rogue could be a lowlife. Again, variety of ways of looking at it. The paladin would be an aristocrat or an acolyte or a lawkeeper, because that's really what the paladin is. They're basically the fucking town cops. So again, this is more to it than just this, but it's an interesting way of looking at things. To give you, for instance, the one thing I really like about this game is also the thing I hate about this game. Let me explain. When we pick ability scores, you see we can drag these. They're already pre-rolled them for you, so I can drag them to wherever it makes sense. They give you suggestions. Notice how the wisdom, con, and strength are highlighted here, letting you know these are typical cleric abilities that you'd probably want to invest in. You can totally ignore this advice. Wisdom is still important for your casting, though you'd probably want to at least put something in there. If you want, I'll make a dex-based cleric. You can do that. This is just a suggestion. Be real clear on this. But notice our die roll here, we have 6 of them, and these dice roll, for those of you that don't know, I mean, you could pop up on one of these things that will tell you how they re-roll the dice. Yeah, here you go. Re-roll 6 ability scores using 4d6 and keeping the 3 best rolls. So they did 4d6, whatever the lowest die roll out of those 4 dice were, they throw it away. They do it again, they do it again, they do it again, they do it again. This is a typical way for us to generate our initial 6 abilities. So, you roll 4d6 6 times, record those results, we're done here, and then place them where you see fit. I like this. I like this a lot. This is the typical D&D way. Notice there is a point buy. I'm not a fan of point buy in this particular context. Yes, I know that's different than Pathfinder, because Pathfinder was a point buy. However, it made sense for that game. I went with it because it's what it was. You can do free edit where you have infinite points and you can just say, fuck it, I want to be Mr. Badass, 19s and everything. Again, this is one of the reasons why I say I hate this. They don't restrict you in any way for this. There's nothing stopping you from being a fucking monster of 19s across the goddamn board. 18 officially, one more because of us being human. But again, this is ridiculous. This is something that is clearly not something that would be in anyone's best interest to play a character like that. So you could do point buy if you so choose. I notice the point buy is set at 27, not 25. But you'll also notice that my stats are not 10s across the board either. So it is a little different than Pathfinder Kingmaker. But the dice roll, and this is the problem I have here. Notice how we have here. Reroll 6 ability scores using 46 and keeping the 3 best rolls. If you just reroll the dice, reroll 6 ability scores using 46 and keeping the 3 best rolls. Oh, these are different. That seems weird. Not sure that is a difference. I just go with reroll dice. But the point that I don't like about this is there's nothing from stopping you from wasting your afternoon clicking here until you get like 18, 17, 17, 17, 16, 15 or some shit like that. Literally, I would look at the lowest here and just keep going. For those of you that would find this boring, so do I. This is my point. This is not fun. You might as well just go to the point buy, set it to infinite, and just set the fucking points for what the hell you want. Again, it's cheating. I don't like that shit. If any devs are ever watching this game want to know what I would like them to do on a game similar to this, or this game for this matter. See how you have reroll dice? What we would do, if you really wanted to have an uber chance to be awesome. Like, this is a good roll. I mean, 17, 17, a 9. I mean, I could put that in charisma. Even as a human, a 10 is nothing to scoff at. That's still fine. And I have some solid stats. I can get my fucking wisdom to be tits. I can have my strength to be fucking awesome. And I can have myself a reasonably decent con and dex and still be not a brick stupid motherfucker. Again, this is a solid character, or just as easily fucking swap out. Reset those. I could swap out intelligence for charisma to make sure that I have some charisma. You know, you are channeling, turning undead. I'm assuming it's still charisma based in this game. I can't remember how D actually works on that shit. But I could do my points like that. But my point's still the same. I'm not a fan of just re-rolling until you get what you want. What I would recommend, back to my original point, for future games like this, devs, please pay attention. I would give you a 1, 2, 3 chances and you're out. What I mean is you could roll like this. Here's my first roll. Record all these numbers and roll 1, they're saved. I say, well, let's re-roll again, see if we can do better. And again, the numbers are going to be different. I'll have some better, some worse, maybe some the same. But by and large, it'll be different numbers. That'd be roll 2. Then I'd say, fuck it, re-roll it a third time. Roll 3, record those numbers. And again, 1, 2, and 3 are all recorded. Then you can pick then at that point, and that point only, your rolls, your decisions. You know, did you pick 1? Did you pick 2? Did you pick 3? That's all you're going to get. And I'd be cool with that. And this is how we would probably tabletop argue that shit. So house rule it. We'd be like, yeah, because sometimes people will get them. Play a bad one. People will get shit like this. Who the fuck plays that? I mean, sure, this is enough to get your wisdom to a level 4 spells. This is enough to hit a target and do some damage. This is enough to keep you not dead within the first swing, maybe. You're not tripping over yourself. You're not a complete imbecile. You're as ugly as a box of rocks. So again, this is no one's ideal character by any stretch of the imagination. So more likely than not, people would think that would be fucking horrible. People would not like that. And as a DM, we'd probably say, roll it again, dude. And we wouldn't let you just roll these 3. You say, no, fuck it, wipe out all of this shit, because yeah, 17 looks pretty, and that 14 is not that bad. Nope. It's yes or no. You're keeping them all, or you're re-rolling them all. And we'd let you re-roll it again and say, all right, that's fair. Are you cool with that? They'd be like, yeah, I can work with this. That's how we would do shit. So I like the idea of get 1 roll, then 2 rolls, then 3 rolls, write them all down, save them, and after you get your 3rd roll, if you decide to roll 3 times, you say, no, I want number 2. And then at that point, it resets to number 2 up here, and you can distribute the points however you see fit. That's how I would do shit. Again, so everyone's going to be different on that. But this would be a solid character here. Again, we're not amazing. We're not, like someone that's like, oh my god, I can't believe you didn't freaking kick so much ass in the last adventure because you're such a badass. You're not. But this is a decent hero. To me, this would be someone who's really good at their job, wise. That's what their main stat is. They're okay at swinging a weapon. You'll get bonuses for strength and shit like that from other things, whether it's magical gear, spells, or natural upgrades as we level up. So again, this would be a serviceable character as a cleric to me. Notice at this point, you get not only to see your saving throw bonuses, and notice how we have saving throw proficiency in wisdom and charisma because of the type of character that we are, and I'm assuming that came from us being a cleric. It could also be because we're an acolyte. I wasn't paying close enough attention, quite frankly, but this is something that you're reasonably good at. Not bad. Having said that, we have insight, nature, and religion already ticked over here, as you can see with the little helmet. So we get 2 class skills for the type of cleric that we are, probably limited maybe by intelligence as well. Choose 2 skills from history, insight, medicine, persuasion, and religion to be skilled in. Notice, again, insight, for example, is already clicked, so we don't have to click it. Can't click it, no less. So that one's done. Same with the other ones. Notice the ones here that have the pluses. These are the ones you can choose from. So look at the pluses. Notice, by the way, we got proficiency in herbalism kit and scroll kit. And again, that came from our cult, or not a cult, our acolyte training, whatever the hell it's called. So again, that's a thing. But always scroll down and check to see, because maybe you could be doubly proficient in it. Rogues can in a variety of ways. So again, that's something of importance here. But again, the 3 that are left, which again are in this list, I can go history, medicine, medicine, persuasion, or history, persuasion. It's up to fucking. I know me. Medicine is going to be important. You are a fucking cleric after all, and maybe history is important to you because again, you know something about the region, for example. But you could just as easily convince me persuasion is important to you, but you're not really good at intelligence or charisma in any real leaps and bounds of difference here. So the +1 versus +1, there's nothing really different about it. So I say, fuck it, let's go with history. Notice, now we get to pick, first, just to remind you, of course, your weapons and armor, this is what you're proficient in, okay, because of the type of cleric that we are. So simple weapons, light armor, medium armor, shield, and again, simple weapons aren't a lot. We have proficiency in them. So you're proficient with this category of weapon, adding your proficiency bonus to attack rolls. So what I would assume this means, because again, I haven't played 5th edition in so fucking long, I probably would get it wrong left and right. So let's just go by what I'm thinking here. I would assume this means that I could wield a weapon that I'm not proficient in and just not get my proficiency bonus to the attack roll. So for example, a longsword is not a simple weapon. I would assume that means I could wield a longsword, I just wouldn't get that proficiency bonus. If that's wrong, like you can't pick it up, which is again typical D&D behavior. Like you know how to use a club, but oh my god, that quarterstaff is so confusing to you because it's a longer stick, really. But again, that's the way to do things. If it's not a simple weapon, you're not proficient in it, then therefore you don't get to use it. So that's always a thing. I assume that it's this way too in this game. So either way this works, I'm not going to be surprised. If, however, like I said, that I could use a longsword even though I don't get my proficiency bonus, that's still kind of cool. I hope that's the case. If not, and it really is what I think, which means you're not allowed to use a weapon because you're not trained in martial weapons, then I'll get by. It's fine. Notice, we get to pick an ancestry language. Notice everyone on your party is going to have common. I believe that there's nothing that changes that. So everyone has the ability to basically gutter speak with each other. So everybody knows how to fucking talk. Notice the ones that we can get as an ancestry language because of the type of person we are. Dwarves, Elvish, Halfling, or Old Temerian, all these serviceable ancestry languages for a human. Because we have relationships ancestry relationships with these types of beings. So, let's say I want to be familiar with halflings. Now we have background language. And notice how it unlocks everything except for spy codex, which again I'm assuming a spy would have this unlocked, maybe a rogue would have this unlocked, maybe both would have this unlocked. I don't know. Point is, it's clearly different. But I can pick one background language as well. And again, if I have a dwarf on the team, you better believe I'm going to pick dwarf. If I'm going to have an elf on the team, you better believe I'm going to get an elvish language speaking with them. You know, maybe again I want to have people diversified with this old Temerian. This is literally lost language from a lost world of humans from eons gone by, part of the story. So again, maybe I want to have you as the cleric know that shit because you're my history buff. Whatever you want to do. Again, there's no wrong answer here, but this will allow you to do interactions. For example, if we fight orcs and no one can speak to orcs, you just assume they're pricks. Attack them. And it could have been a peaceful, or at least amicable parting of ways that didn't involve bloodshed. Because no one can fucking speak to them, you just assume there's the savages that we probably know that they are, and therefore problems ensue. And maybe you don't want to talk to giants because fuck those guys, they're pricks. So again, how you pick this is going to dictate how the interactions behave in the game. And again, 4 people on the team, don't have to have everyone matching exactly, but common's going to be a commonality, pardon the pun, between all of them. Notice, because I can cast spells, I get to pick cantrips. Now these are infinite use spells. Notice how I don't get light because I actually get that one for free, I believe, because of my son. I was going to say heritage. The fuck's it called for clerics? Domain. There it is. Jesus. Because of the clerical sun domain, I probably get light for free is my guess, which is why it's probably darkened. But notice how I have shine. And if you hover over this, you see the range, the 10 cubes. It looks like a die. It's actually 10 cubes. So literally from you to the next cube in movement. So 10 is the range, if you will. Notice how it tells you the number of targets, in this case 1, the properties of the spell, it's a light source, and it's a spell. If it tells you, almost always, you'll see where it says hold alt for more information. This is the more information. It extends it drastically. It tells you information. Knows at higher levels you can upcast it. At higher levels, at caster level 5, 11, and 17, it's a +1 die. So it's a light source, 2 squares of bright, +4 of dim. Save each turn to cancel, so this is obviously something you use to like blind someone who's like light sensitive would be my idea. But obviously this would be to illuminate a target for dispelling the shadows, if you will. So allowing you and the party to clearly see what the motherfucker is. It's not a bad spell. You can see the appeal here. We have guidance, the typical guidance spell at 1d4 to 1 ability check. Infinite use, range of touch, lasts for 1 minute or until obviously it is used up. So again, an amazing spell. You better believe I'll probably grab that. Resistance, just a one-time bonus to your saving throws. Pass. Spare the dying, on the other hand, touch a dying ally to stabilize that. Infinite use, that's amazing. And then notice how we have Sparkle. If you hold Alt, you can see what this one does. Target 3 objects that can be illuminated and light them up immediately. So again, very similar to a Shine or a Light spell. But notice how we have Sacred Flame, where we literally do an attack action, if I'm not mistaken. Striking with radiant damage. Reasonably decent range of 12 cubes away. Instantaneous effect because it's just a damage effect. Does a saving throw, that's a dex-based saving throw to avoid the damage. Does 1 8-sided die, I think that's what that's telling us there. Yeah, it's got to be an 8-sided die of sun damage, whatever the hell that means. So it's probably a specific type of damage. Save to negate the damage rules. Alteration form, light up form, and save to negate. That's probably again, this is early access. This is probably something they haven't polished up yet. So it's tagging it in a way that's not giving you what you really need to know. But I'll take Sacred Flame, sure, why not? Notice this is the part of the game that I probably hate the most. Not the picking of characters to speak, or the visuals of your character. It's I don't like the way the characters look. They look weird to me. Again, I can't explain it, but the face looks funny. And again, you have different choices. So again, we could go click. So click, click, click. Again, they just look, I don't know, off. Again, we have different races. So clearly this would be like what I'm guessing is like Asian race. And again, slightly different face models. African American race. Again, slightly different face models. This could even probably pass for like India. And again, nothing wrong with that. A different skin tone. We can make them look like purpley freaks. We can make them look like Shrek. You know, again, Hulk. However you want to fucking do it. But I would probably keep the realistic tones. And again, I just don't like the faces. It's, you know, they're round and bloated, and they just look odd to me. It's not to say you can't find something that'll make you reasonably happy. This one's probably my least annoying one. This one might be okay, but maybe with a slightly darker skin tone. Give them a tan. And of course, the hair shape again goes a long way as well. The hair models are a little, at least they're diverse. We'll say that. So they're not like all the same thing, but you got a lot of hippie hairstyles here with like braids and shit. And again, it's going to be more of the same with the other races as well. There's beard shape, but there's not much. There's like just like there's a beard, there's no beard. Obviously, again, early access. We're expecting more to come later. Notice there is hair color, eye color. Again, it's not that big of a deal, but again, if you want to have a spellcaster that's eyes are glowing at you with bright yellow, you can do so. Kind of dig it myself. Notice that there's a physique scaler, so you can Hulk out. And this works on the women as well, where they get like really gross, thick muscles, or you can make them skinny mini. And again, there's always probably like a happy medium in there somewhere for everybody. But again, another one of those where the slider's nice that they've added it. It still comes across looking weird, as you'll see. Age is something that I do appreciate on this one, though. And you can kind of barely make him out, but in his forehead here, you got a little bit in the way of wrinkles. If you grab the age, those get more pronounced. Okay, so you can really show your age, so to speak, on these ones. And I kind of dig that, because again, maybe you want to have a super wise paladin, whereas it's like a male or female dwarf, for example. And they're fucking riddled with wrinkles. They got like a face like a Rand McNally map, and it's kind of fucking cool in that regard, because again, it adds to the flavor of the character. I kind of fucking dig that shit. There's some voice modeling here.
Good work. I don't like it. You can take the light. I don't like it
That's
either.
impressive. I'm impressed. I think I did it.
The downside of this one is there's not very many male voices. There's not very many female voices. They did a decent enough smattering of them that if you do an all-female party, I think you can still get away with it, where there's not the same voice. And part of it is not just that it's the different voice actor or actress. It's, again, based on your, what do we call that shit? Your personality. There it is. Your personality traits. A female voice actor that's, all these kind and loving-dovey kind of shit, she will still be the same voice actress, but she'll have different dialogue, so it'll sound like a different person. Because she'll be all upbeat and, let's not fucking kill the bad guys, and then you'll have the one that's like the cynic motherfucker, same voice actress, because it's voice one female that you picked for both of them, because again, you don't have many choices. And because she has different dialogue, she's going to come across like a crass bitch. So again, there's enough mixing up there to be of interest. You can even type in a little bit of backstory here, but notice I will not let you progress until you at least give your character a name. You don't have to have a family name, but you can go just with the first name. Call her Madonna, Cher, whatever. Give it a one-name wonder, and don't give any family name, and it will allow you to progress. So we're going to call him Blair, because I'm really deep in thinking about this a lot. Okay, sounds good. And again, good news is he will be saved. So if you look up here, alphabetized, of course, cleric is here. So if you want to start a new adventure with 4 people, go to new adventure and actually pick the 4 people you want. So again, I have currently Brothermutant. I currently have devotee. I currently have Shadowcaster. And I currently have Spell Sword. This is the party I'm running with currently. So I have a dwarf, paladin. I have a halfling. I can't tell you which kind. And same with the dwarf. I can't tell you which kind. A halfling rogue, who at level 3 will be the Shadowcaster. The devotee paladin will be the devotion oath. Eventually, the spell sword fighter at level 3 will become the one that gets wizard spells. So there'll be a spell sword proper. Brothermutant is just generic wizard right now at level 2. He'll get leveled up and do something awesome. Again, I could totally run with this. I'm just going to start the campaign just to show you the little story arc that they start you off with. We're not actually going to play. notice that we have the ability to change the light. I'm just going to keep it the way it is. But you should be able to barely see this one and barely see this one is the goal. And then you'll change your brightness and contrast to make that work. This will be more important in the game because, again, color, darkness, light is a factor in this game. The one thing I love about this game is I love the tutorials, the way they set up the tutorials. So what we have here is 4 characters meeting up in a pub, which of course is how all D&D great stories start, to become a team. They're here to meet somebody, so while they're drinking at this pub, they meet up, and they start talking and reminiscing, and they tell a story, each of them. And their stories is basically the tutorial. And they give you a tutorial for 4 different elements.
Before the Cataclysm, there were no gods on Solasta. No humans either. Then, the rift opened. Some say it was a magical accident, or the work of an evil god. No one knows for sure. The Cataclysm destroyed the old High Elf Empire. Manicalan, they called it, and twisted the land beyond recognition. Now, only the brave and the foolish go there, in search of ancient treasures. But something is happening deep in those Badlands. Whatever it is, it can't be good.
So, neutral evil? Cool. This is basically the whole point. There's a cataclysm, people showed up and fucked everything up, and this High Elven Empire basically got destroyed like almost overnight, and shattered and fractured. And I mean fractured, I mean the ground is busted, buildings are fucking sticking out sideways of fucking cliffs that they shouldn't be. This magic is gone awry. Stuff is basically floating where it shouldn't be, so it's like anti-gravity fields in various places. Just everything's just fucking broken, basically. This is a pretty cool way of fucking setting up this thing here. So again, notice how we're basically letting you know that 4 strangers meeting this bar, this grave keeps cast close to the council chambers to meet councilmen or whatever, because they've been called to fucking do a quest here. This is your team. Part of it.
This beer tastes like donkey piss. Not that I'm complaining. Hope I'm not too late. Ran into a bit of trouble on the way here.
Sit, relax. Perhaps you'd enjoy a pint of this obnoxious ale.
If you're here for the council job, get in line. Though if this Lord Karen doesn't show up soon, I may go looking for him.
Another round, barkeeper. 4 of your finest flagons of donkey piss, please. Looks like you've been waiting here a while.
Indeed. You mentioned something about some trouble. Would you care to elaborate?
Well, I was making my way here when 3 bandits leapt from the bushes with crossbows. They dragged me off to some decrepit prison and tossed me in a filthy cell that smelled of rat piss. Don't know what was holding the place up.
This is part of the tutorial now. So each of your 4 characters are going to have a story, and each of their stories is going to showcase a mechanic. So in this particular one's how to move, how to interact with objects, how to basically get the fuck out of Dodge. You're basically trying to escape. Which again, I'm not going to do this for you. We'll do this when we actually play the game official. The second, 2, 3, and 4 stories. Remember that each of them are going to tell their own story. One will be like a rogue story. Good news is, because we have a rogue, that's the one that they obviously pick for you to do the rogue elements. I don't know how they fucking do a rogue story if you're not playing a rogue on the team. You can have people on the team, for like a fighter or ranger or whatever, that has proficiency in sleight of hand and stealth and all the shit that's a rogue job, so to speak. So probably they'd give it to them, but it's a bad idea. I mean, it's one of those where you almost want to do your. That's why it's kind of nice. I mean, it's kind of someone bitched about how it's not their favorite game so far because you're only a party of 4. You can't have 5 or 6 like you do in Pathfinder. I actually prefer 4 because in pen and paper D&D, it was kind of hard to get a lot of friends together to do this shit back in the day. It's a little easier now, but 4 was the magic number. You had your fighter, You had your thief or rogue now. You had your cleric or some type of healer, cleric, bard, druid would work. And then you had a wizard or sorcerer, perhaps, or even now a fucking warlock. But the general 4 archetypes were there. Someone to beat someone's face in, someone to heal the party, someone to sneak thief and disarm traps and all that fucking shit, and then you had someone to be the arcane caster. And that was the typical 4. So when I say that I kind of dig it, it's not because of keeping it lean. It just reminds me of the good old days, I suppose. Point is, the 4 different stories that we'll have will not level you up, but that will be enough for you to get some gear, like some random shit that you can find in these maps. Nothing fancy, nothing magical, I don't think, but you pick up a potion or something, maybe some gold, treasure, armor, whatever. Having said all that, like I said, each of them seem to be tailored around a specific aspect of a tutorial. Like this one is just how to click, move, interact, get the fuck out, hide, use a spell to cast a light spell so you can see in the fucking dark, use a torch if you don't have that ability, etc. and so forth. Another one will be how to fight. It'll be a very quick tutorial. It'll be kick these 2 wolves' ass, and then you can't beat this next wolf because he's the alpha wolf, so here's how you're going to kill that motherfucker by dropping him off a fucking cliff. So it showcases the mechanics of fighting and how to disengage, etc. and so forth. Another one will be just a generic how to hide. And then I don't mean in a rogue way. I mean how to skirt around some bad guys and not fucking get their attention. And how to camp and rest and get your abilities back. And then a 4th one will be like the rogue one, where you literally are a sneak thief. You are walking through an area, hidden, stealth, moving cautiously, which is again what you're seeing here. If you do that, this is what cautious looks like. You get a little aura. I'm going to skip past this because again we're going to do this at some other point. But this is what cautious would look like when you're being a rogue or any character. When you're being cautious, this will be how you detect things better. This will be how you detect traps, footprints, shit of this nature. Notice there's an aura around you. That aura dictates, I want to say, how much noise you're making or whatever. So again, that'll be covered in the rogue part of the tutorial, what I call the rogue part of the tutorial. And again, they'll go through that, read those pop-up tooltips carefully. You will forget shit, I'm sure I will too. You can rotate the camera, they'll tell you all that shit. You can move with the WASD keys, slide around. You can center back on a target by pressing tab. There's a variety of things that they'll fucking tell you through these tutorials. Again, it's a really nice way of introducing you to the game, in my opinion. And the fact that it's only 1 person at a time, and each of your 4 teammates that you just crafted and made, whether you picked them, the generics that they provided you, or you made your own, is kind of fucking cool. I kind of dig it. I mean, it's one of those where all the other tutorials, like for Kingmaker, for example, it's you, then it's you and Lindsay, then it's you, Lindsay, and fucking other doofus man, and then on. It gets very big and very fidgety real quick. Or if it's just 1 person, you can kind of focus your attention because it's only the 1 person that's interacting with the environment. So it's kind of nice. Again, in my opinion. Again, small developer team, pretty impressed with what they've done. The fact that they've given us the ability to mod and make modules is fucking awesome. On that, since we're hitting about an hour mark, I think this is a good time to stop. And I'm going to log off here to show you something real quick. Let's quit this game. It'll take us back to the start menu. I want to show you, here's the Dungeon Maker. It's in beta. Select dungeons and locations created by the community to edit or play or create your own. So again, if we literally made our own, start our own, can make our own plots, and again, this is part of the things that they give us that allows us to make mods, make modules. It's pretty fucking cool. We can browse files if you had them. I do not. And again, I wanted to show you adventure. Notice the difficulties over here. I go on authentic mode, so for players who want the authentic tabletop rule set, that's how I'll probably play the game. Notice how there's empty ones here. Okay, so this is the campaign. Click to open a select adventures. We got Crown of the Magister, literally starting level 1, user campaign starting level X, nothing. This would be the ones you download from like the Nexus, and the modders have their own module or campaign, and they have their own suggested starting level, like starting level 3, starting level 9, starting level whatever. This would be how you could have some serious replayability in this game that have nothing to do with the vanilla version of the game. I just wanted to show you that they really thought about this in a way that say, we know the modding community is going to fucking be here. We You're going to give them the tools that they need to mod, and this is how we're going to do it. So the last thing I'm going to show you before we get out of this, as we get out of this, is I'm going to quit out here, edit this part out, but I want to show you the Nexus for the Solasta Crown of the Magister to show you what's already out there. And we're back. This is just to show you quickly the Nexus mods, specifically for Solasta Crown of the Magister. Notice how already, again, pre-release, we're like a week out. I want to say it's 5/27 is what I just saw, is when the game is officially supposed to release, a week from today. And literally, they already have 4 pages worth of modders putting stuff out there. So some of this are adventures. As you see, we literally have modules. As you can see, Madman's Funhouse, Tactical Trials, again, Cultist Compound version 2. And again, you'll see a lot of the same modders. What's this one? Acadiantry. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong. You're putting out a ridiculous amount of content for us for free. We even have, let's go actually to the back end and work our way forward. We have upgrades to like various characters. We have like Dark Vision for all kind of things, alternate humans, changes to the merchants that are in the game. Personal favorites for me are things, let's see if I can find, here's an example. Wizard Life Transmuter. This is a new subclass that they're adding specifically. So if you look at the picture here, these are the 3 that you're supposed to get for being a wizard. A Shock Arcanist, or you can be a Lore Master or Green Mage, and that shows up at level 2. Notice that we have Arcane Fighter. Life Transmuter is the one that this one's giving you. There's Master Manipulator, Spell Master, and again, these are added by modders. This is why I love this game, is because of stuff like this. The ability for modders to just extend the life, if you will, of this game is really huge. Let's actually backpedal a little bit here. Again, you see the different wizard ones here, the Arcane Fighter, and again, all put together by the same person. Thank you, Chris John Digital. With different fighting styles, different oaths for your clerics or paladins, or actually that's paladins, oaths for paladins, domains for clerics. Notice that we have different classes of fighters now, Spell Shield being an example. We already have the Spell Blade, and again, the mods can tell you what this actually does. A lot of this, though, I'd be real careful with using, simply because, again, you don't know how compatible this is to the changes that they've made for the game as it's released in a week. So be careful. Well, all we're really saying here is make sure that you save your files ahead of time. Don't import it into a new game that's already established and hope that it's going to work. I would test it out first. And again, the fact that the game is done in about 40 hours, you can have like 2 solid weekends of awesome fun testing out one of these new fighter types or rogue types or what have you. Again, various people just putting out blank dungeons, generic stuff. Again, here's an example of one where it says a level 2 party challenge. So literally stuff that you can do once your characters get to level 2, different classes and such. Here's a Tinker class. And if you go for images, usually you can get an idea of what they've actually done. So here's Cleric, Tinkerer, Paladin, Fire, Rogue, Ranger. Obviously, Wizard's missing, or it's scroll down and you'll find it kind of thing. Kind of nice that they've added these things. What else do we have here? The higher level features, infusions, enhanced armor, bag of holding. Goggles for night. Really good stuff that he's done, guys. And again, I'm a big fan of the modding community. Anyone that fucking sees my playthroughs knows my fun for Pathfinder Kingmaker mods. People have changed the feat selections. They've changed the types of gear that you'll have. I'm certain that there's going to be modders out there that, with some time, of course, will give us differences to our animations, or whether it's the way the faces look, or the hairstyles, or the type of armor that you're equipping. Stuff of that nature is always something that a modder is interested in doing. So we're expecting quite a bit. Dungeon Maker Unlock. What's this here? Just like a quick gander. Select an item. So again, cost of items, ingredients, and so forth. Crafting. Nice. The game is actually going to have a lot of support, in my opinion. I really dig the fact that modders are going out of the way to already make this game a much better game. That's pretty awesome. I really am looking forward to not only playing the game for you guys, but also once beating the game, going back, checking out these mods, checking out the different modules to see what they have to offer. Maybe I can put together a series of mods that, from this, that, and the other, or maybe just all from one modder for a module set that can get you from like level 1 all the way up to level 10, which is by the end of the game. And again, there's people in here that have broken the mold when it comes to things like they've taken away the restriction of the level 10 cap. I got character export here. I'm assuming this would be allow you to export your character from an actual gameplay into a different module, which would be fucking awesome. A way for you to hop around a little bit and not, again, play the same story all the time. Whether you're playing solo or with the team, again, it doesn't really specify, but that would be really, really nice thing to have, I think. Monster Hinted Health. Viscount Lamarck quest. The Ballad of Red Kent. Again, these guys are putting in some serious fun. And I just think this will be something that would add to your game. With that, though, that's all I really had for you guys today. My name's Brothermutant. Please like, subscribe, comment down below. Tell me what you guys think of this type of playthrough. Is this something you'd be interested in seeing? Do you want to see how the mods work? Again, we will officially wait that full week before we get into heavy gameplay. I may, in the next day or two, just show you the 4-part tutorial where you use one character for each of those 4 parts to show you the general mechanics, as well as to kind of fresh myself on what I'm supposed to be doing in this game. With that, though, I'll see you guys soon. Bye now.